Spain's monarchy could end tomorrow. Here's what happens. Picture Madrid at dawn. The sun spills gold across the royal palace, highlighting its centuries-old stone facade. Silence fills the plazas, a quiet tension humming in the air. And yet, inside these walls, decisions are moving faster than any outside observer could imagine. The monarchy of Spain, a symbol of tradition and continuity for generations, could face a historic rupture tomorrow. The monarchy at risk. Few outside the corridors in Washington, London, Ottawa, Canberra, or Berlin grasp the weight of what this could mean, not just for Spain, but for the perception of monarchy across the world. Centuries of tradition could vanish overnight, and the world would never look at Spain the same way again. Every palace carries stories of lineage and legacy, but rarely did they intersect so directly with modern governance. Across the Atlantic, in the US, analysts watch Spain's every move, weighing implications for European stability. In the UK, whispers about protocol and precedent ripple quietly through the tabloids, while in Canada and Australia, the Commonwealth considers the symbolic weight of a royal shift. Germany frames it differently, seeing constitutional resilience tested, while the Spanish people themselves feel the tension of living history teetering on the edge. The monarchy, after all, is not just an institution, it is the living thread of continuity. It is a symbol woven into ceremonies, law, and national identity, binding past and present in a single, fragile moment. Yet tomorrow, that thread could fray. No observer can ignore the signs. Body language at state functions, subtle shifts in public messaging, the way aides are positioned in meetings, each carries meaning. And though the world outside sees polished events, those closest to the palace sense something more urgent, an unprecedented test of endurance, legitimacy, and perception. By midday, the tension escalates. In media rooms from Madrid to Berlin, analysts parse every syllable, every gesture, every protocol adjustment. The monarchy at risk is no longer a speculative question, it is the lens through which global observers frame every report. For centuries, Spain has survived wars, crises, and political upheavals. Now, history asks a new question: can it survive its own moment of choice? Minute by minute, the stakes rise. Institutional frameworks, rarely visible to public eye, guide the monarchy's every step. Advisors in Ottawa note the balance of ceremonial and constitutional duties, while London's experts draw parallels with decades of British precedent. Canberra watches symbolism unfold, understanding that monarchy is as much about perception as governance. Even Germany, with its own post-monarchy constitutional culture, offers lessons in continuity and restraint. A single document circulates behind palace doors, quietly debated and scrutinized. Its implications are profound. Succession lines, parliamentary protocol, and the monarchy's very relevance hang in delicate balance. Each signature, each omission, could ripple across Europe. Centuries of tradition could vanish overnight, and the world would never look at Spain the same way again. The first clue appears in a routine ceremony, easily missed by cameras. The king's posture, the crown's placement, the timing of a bow, these are signals to insiders, encoded gestures revealing uncertainty. Journalists from Madrid to New York note anomalies, while historians compare them with centuries of ritual. Observers in the US and UK frame this moment differently, yet the continuity echoes across continents. The second clue emerges in media strategy. Carefully curated images, selective interviews, and subtle emphasis on service and duty hint at an institution. Bracing for pressure. Across Spain, social media discussions range from reverence to speculation, while in Canada and Australia, commentators consider the symbolic power of monarchs in the modern era. Germany notes the constitutional mechanisms in play, emphasizing that legality and ritual must coexist. As the day unfolds, the tension escalates toward the midpoint. Palace advisors convene in rooms steeped in history, debating every word of public statements. A single misstep could ignite international speculation, challenge internal legitimacy, and undermine the monarchy's perception. And yet, outwardly, life continues. Public events, ceremonial guards, and diplomatic visits give the illusion of calm. The monarchy at risk is whispered again, this time in the shadowed halls of policy. A meeting with foreign diplomats hints at potential consequences for Spain's global relationships. Washington, London, Ottawa, Canberra, and Berlin all register the undercurrents. No decision has been made publicly, but the threads of power shift quietly, subtly, inexorably. Continuity is not abstract here, it is embodied in visible presence, in the gestures of those who carry centuries of history on their shoulders. A private statement, drafted but unsent, references duties beyond the crown, duties to the nation, duties to identity itself. Observers grasp the implications: succession, legitimacy, and symbolic authority all hang in a delicate balance. The palace, a centuries-old monument, becomes a stage for decisions whose echoes will travel far beyond Madrid. The monarchy's challenges are not merely domestic. The world watches, framing Spain's potential rupture in multiple narratives. In Canada and Australia, analysts stress symbolic continuity. In Germany, the focus is constitutional resilience. And in the US and UK, debates swirl about precedent and international perception. Centuries of tradition could vanish overnight, and the world would never look at Spain the same way again. Final minute approaches. The forward-looking cliffhanger: what will history record tomorrow? Will the monarchy endure, adapt, or transform? The monarchy at risk echoes one final time, a reminder that the present moment could redefine a nation, a lineage, and the very idea of royal continuity. The legacy statement lingers: centuries of tradition could vanish overnight, and the world would never look at Spain the same way again. The camera lingers on the palace at twilight. Guards shift silently. Windows reflect centuries of history. Across continents, analysts, historians, and citizens alike await the first sign of decision. And while the world speculates, the monarchy itself stands, fragile yet resolute, a living testament to continuity, duty, and identity. Even in silence, the story is unfolding, and the consequences, both seen and unseen, will ripple across the globe, from Madrid to Washington, London to Canberra, Berlin to Ottawa. The monarchy at risk remains more than a question. It is a mirror of history, a test of tradition, and a reminder that legacy is never guaranteed, only stewarded carefully. And tomorrow, when the first decision is revealed, the world will watch. Will the monarchy endure, or will centuries of tradition vanish overnight, leaving Spain, and indeed the world, to reckon with a future forever changed? As night descends over Madrid, the palace halls take on a different character. Shadows stretch across marble floors, and the chandeliers throw fractured light onto centuries-old tapestries. Here, away from the public eye, advisors move with a purpose that is almost invisible to outsiders. Every whispered conversation, every document passed from hand to hand, carries weight beyond imagination. The monarchy at risk is not just a headline in distant newspapers, it is a palpable tension that hums in the very walls of the royal palace. A subtle shift in ceremonial planning hints that tomorrow may not be business as usual. Guards are repositioned, advisors confer in rapid, almost coded exchanges, and even the most routine public appearances are scrutinized under a lens sharpened by urgency. What does this mean for the continuity of Spain's monarchy? Observers in Washington and London are already trying to decode the signals, aware that small gestures here may foreshadow monumental consequences abroad. Centuries of tradition could vanish overnight, and the world would never look at Spain the same way again. Outside the palace, Madrid itself mirrors this quiet tension. Streets that normally bustle with life seem subdued, as if the city itself senses the weight of what is unfolding. International media fleets descend, each journalist aware that history may be in the making. In Canada and Australia, editorial boards debate the implications of such a shift in leadership, while in Germany, political analysts stress the need for constitutional clarity. Here, the monarchy is not merely ceremonial, it is an anchor of national identity. The monarchy at risk. This question frames every story, every broadcast, every analysis. And yet, the people closest to power understand that continuity is more than protocol, it is a living, breathing thread connecting generations. Even a minor disruption could cascade across institutions, reshaping not only public perception but the very foundation of Spain's governance. Whispers circulate about a potential compromise. A single line in a confidential memo hints at negotiations between palace officials and political leaders, negotiations so sensitive that even the smallest leak could ignite global speculation. Observers in London compare it to historical moments when monarchies faced similar crises, noting how even minor symbolic acts influenced national and international confidence. Ceremonial adjustments are noted in real time, and every public gesture is dissected. A bow, a pause, a glance, all convey messages invisible to the casual observer but clear to those trained to see signs of stability or fragility. Analysts in Washington, Ottawa, and Berlin trace patterns, trying to predict whether Spain's monarchy can withstand this pressure without losing its aura of legitimacy. A sudden communication from a European diplomat hints at potential interventions or advisory notes, unseen by the public. Could external counsel tip the balance? And if so, what precedent does that set for Spain, for Europe, and for monarchies worldwide? Centuries of tradition could vanish overnight, and the world would never look at Spain the same way again. The palace convenes a meeting with representatives from multiple ministries and foreign envoys. Here, the subtle tension transforms into tangible decision-making. Analysts in Australia note that the monarchy's symbolic gestures, when aligned with constitutional frameworks, reinforce public confidence, even amidst uncertainty. Germany highlights that visible continuity, no matter how procedural, acts as an anchor for the nation. And in the US and UK, commentators weigh both domestic implications and the broader geopolitical ripple effects. The monarchy at risk. A confidential note circulates, indicating the possibility of a public statement tomorrow, one carefully drafted to reassure citizens while maintaining the monarchy's authority. It is delicate choreography, the line between reassurance and alarm is razor thin. Each word, each phrase, is designed to uphold the living thread of continuity. The tension is palpable, even in ceremonial spaces where the public only sees grandeur. Every clock tick in the palace seems magnified, every ceremony subtly orchestrated to reinforce legitimacy. Observers in London and Ottawa acknowledge that the monarchy's endurance depends not only on historical precedent but on the perception of resilience, an intangible yet powerful force that binds a nation together. Minute 15, the palace shifts into full observance mode. Every hallway, every chamber, carries the weight of expectation. Advisors cross-reference centuries of precedent with the realities of today's political climate. In Berlin, constitutional scholars observe closely, noting that Spain's monarchy, unlike some of its European counterparts, balances ceremony with actual institutional influence. Even a slight deviation in procedure could be interpreted as instability, sparking both domestic and international debate. Centuries of tradition could vanish overnight, and the world would never look at Spain the same way again. Minute 16, the palace communications team prepares for potential leaks, not just from domestic media, but from international observers in London, Ottawa, Canberra, and Washington. Every message, every image, is curated to reinforce stability, to signal continuity even in uncertainty. Analysts note the symbolic power of this choreography. Gestures that seem routine carry immense weight in shaping global perception. By minute 17, body language becomes headline material. In a private courtyard, Princess Leonor is observed during a rehearsal of ceremonial duties. Her posture, her gaze, even the angle of her hands is meticulously analyzed by historians and media alike. In Canada and Australia, pundits discuss the role of heirs in reinforcing the legitimacy of monarchy. In Germany, experts note the parallels between symbolic continuity and constitutional safeguards. It is here, in these quiet, almost imperceptible moments, that history is being made, step by careful step. Minute 18 to 19, cliffhanger. A sudden, confidential directive reaches the palace from political advisors. Its contents remain undisclosed, but speculation is immediate. Will it reinforce the monarchy, hint at adaptation, or foreshadow transformation? International media begins framing questions. What is Spain signaling to the world? Washington interprets it as a test of resilience, London sees it as a nod to precedent, Canberra and Ottawa weigh symbolic significance, Berlin highlights institutional stability. The monarchy at risk. Minute 20, mid-climax, the palace announces a series of symbolic gestures designed to reassure citizens and the international community. A public address, a ceremonial inspection, a shift in protocol, all meticulously planned. The world watches, from New York to London, Berlin to Canberra, seeing the delicate balance between tradition and adaptability. This is not just ceremony, it is the living thread of continuity. Minute 21 to 22, legacy reinforcement. Centuries of tradition are carried not only in stone and ceremony but in the stewardship of those who occupy these halls. Each advisor, each royal, each ceremonial act contributes to a chain that has survived wars, revolutions, and political upheaval. Centuries of tradition could vanish overnight, and the world would never look at Spain the same way again. Minute 23, cliffhanger. Reports from international analysts suggest potential shifts in perception even if the monarchy endures. How will Spain be viewed on the global stage? Will other monarchies learn from this test of resilience? And in the shadows of the palace, those closest to power know that public perception and actual authority are two separate, delicate balances. Minute 24, final escalation. Ceremonial acts, public appearances, and subtle gestures converge into a single, orchestrated message of continuity. Advisors in London and Ottawa praise the precision, while analysts in Germany note the constitutional clarity reinforced through symbolism. In Australia, commentators remark on the enduring role of heirs in maintaining legitimacy. The monarchy at risk echoes one final time, binding the narrative, the imagery, and the stakes into a cohesive, cinematic moment. Final minute, forward-looking cliffhanger. As the sun sets over the royal palace, shadows stretch long across centuries of history. The decision tomorrow will ripple far beyond Madrid. Centuries of tradition could vanish overnight, and the world would never look at Spain the same way again. Will the monarchy endure intact, adapt to new realities, or transform entirely? Only time will reveal the answer, and the world waits, eyes fixed on the palace that has stood for generations, a living testament to continuity, duty, and legacy. Minute 25, the palace quiets as twilight deepens over Madrid. From the vantage of the royal palace terraces, centuries of history seem to press down on the present. Guards move with ritual precision, courtyards empty except for echoing footsteps. It is here that the weight of the monarchy's continuity is most palpable. Every gesture, every glance, every protocol observed is a message to the world. Stability persists, but uncertainty lingers just beneath the surface. The monarchy at risk. Minute 26, internal reflection. Advisors speak in hushed tones about decisions yet to be finalized, weighing the monarchy's symbolic importance against political realities. In Washington, analysts track the unfolding events closely, noting how Spain's approach could set a precedent for other constitutional monarchies. London's historians dissect potential outcomes, comparing today's uncertainty to past crises. Ottawa and Canberra reflect on how symbolic continuity shapes national confidence, while Germany emphasizes the resilience of institutions over individuals. Centuries of tradition could vanish overnight, and the world would never look at Spain the same way again. Minute 27, subtle tension. A ceremonial rehearsal for tomorrow's public address becomes a focal point. Princess Leonor's presence is deliberate, a living embodiment of succession and duty. Each step she takes, each interaction, is scrutinized, both domestically and internationally, signaling continuity even amid speculation. Observers note how carefully choreographed gestures maintain legitimacy and reassure citizens. Minute 28, near final cliffhanger. A private note circulates among top advisors suggesting that tomorrow may bring decisions capable of reshaping Spain's monarchy for generations. How the world perceives these actions, from New York to Berlin, London to Canberra, could define the monarchy's place not only in Spain, but on the global stage. The monarchy at risk. Minute 29, legacy reinforcement. Beyond protocol, beyond ceremonial display, the monarchy represents a living chain of history. Advisors, royals, and ceremonial staff all play a part in a tradition that has endured wars, political upheaval, and societal shifts. Centuries of tradition could vanish overnight, and the world would never look at Spain the same way again. Every gesture, every measured act of continuity, is a thread holding the past and future together. Minute 30, closing forward-looking cliffhanger. As the sun dips below the horizon, the palace itself becomes a symbol. Shadows stretch across marble floors, windows glint with centuries of legacy, and the world waits. Will the monarchy endure, adapt, or transform? Will the symbolic power of centuries-old ritual survive the scrutiny of modern expectations? And tomorrow, when the first official announcement comes, the answers will begin to ripple across continents, from Madrid to Washington, London, Ottawa, Canberra, and Berlin. The monarchy at risk. The camera lingers on the royal palace, silent yet alive with history. Guards shift imperceptibly, banners sway in the evening breeze, and the echoes of centuries seem to whisper through the halls. The monarchy is at a crossroads, but continuity remains. Centuries of tradition could vanish overnight, and the world would never look at Spain the same way again. And yet, one thing is certain, the story is far from over. History watches, and the monarchy, fragile yet resilient, stands at the center of it all, a living testament to duty, legacy, and the enduring thread that binds past to future. The night deepens over Madrid, and the royal palace glows like a beacon of history. Its stone walls have witnessed kings and queens, wars and revolutions, celebrations and crises. And now, at this very moment, a quiet tension holds the palace in its grasp. Every window, every archway, every courtyard carries the weight of centuries. The monarchy at risk. In the corridors behind closed doors, advisors finalize preparations. Speeches are reviewed, ceremonial gestures rehearsed, every nuance weighed against centuries of precedent. Even the smallest action tomorrow could ripple across continents. Observers in London note how symbolic continuity reassures citizens and allies alike. In Ottawa and Canberra, commentators consider how royal presence can unify a nation. Germany focuses on institutional durability, while Washington watches the balance of tradition and modern governance with keen interest. Centuries of tradition could vanish overnight, and the world would never look at Spain the same way again. Outside, the streets of Madrid are quiet but alive with anticipation. Citizens sense the gravity of what is unfolding, even if the details remain unseen. Across the globe, journalists, historians, and political analysts prepare to interpret the first signs. The monarchy's endurance is not merely about ceremony, it is the living thread of continuity, woven into the very identity of Spain. Minute 24 to 25, final cliffhanger. Tomorrow will mark a decision, small or monumental, that could redefine the monarchy. Will it adapt, survive, or transform? How will the world perceive Spain? And most importantly, what will this mean for the legacy of generations who have carried the crown before? The monarchy at risk. The camera pans over the palace as shadows stretch across the centuries-old stone. Guards shift, banners ripple in the evening breeze, and the faint glow of the city lights hints at both vigilance and hope. Every act, every gesture, is a testament to continuity. Centuries of tradition could vanish overnight, and the world would never look at Spain the same way again. And as the night settles, one truth remains: history is watching, decisions are imminent, and the monarchy, fragile yet resilient, stands at the heart of it all. The story is not finished. The future of Spain's monarchy, its legacy, and the enduring thread of continuity hang in delicate balance. And when the first official actions unfold tomorrow, the world will bear witness to a moment that may reshape centuries. The monarchy at risk.